The Queen of England said she would never allow Camilla Parker Bowles in the same room with her ever again. Those were her exact words in 1975 when she discovered her son Charles was having an adulterous affair with a married woman. Fast forward 30 years, and that same woman is about to become the second most powerful female in Britain, potentially the future queen consort. How did a woman, the monarch, once banished from her presence, end up wearing royal jewels, riding in the queen's carriages, and preparing to stand beside the future king? This is the story of the most audacious social climb in modern royal history. A mistress who broke up the fairy tale marriage, watched by 750 million people, who contributed to a princess's tragic death, and who somehow convinced the world she deserved a crown. And here's the twist that'll blow your mind. She might actually pull it off. Let me paint you a picture of just how much the Queen despised this situation. At Buckingham Palace, that famous balcony where the royal family waves to adoring crowds has witnessed coronations, royal weddings, victory celebrations. Churchill stood there. The Queen's parents celebrated the end of World War II there. Charles and Diana kissed there on their wedding day in 1981. But when Charles wanted Camilla to join him for the Queen's official birthday parade, Her Majesty refused point blank. The word adultery might have been erased from official palace statements, but the Queen never forgot what happened. She knew the consequences. She knew Diana's blood was on their hands. And she made it crystal clear. Camilla would not stand on that balcony while she was alive. This wasn't just royal protocol. This was a mother protecting her family's reputation and a grandmother remembering a dead daughter-in-law who the world still mourned. But Charles didn't care about his mother's feelings or public opinion or constitutional precedent. He'd been waiting decades to legitimize his relationship with Camilla, and he was done hiding. In summer 2004 at Balmoral Castle, he essentially forced the Queen's hand. A series of advisors flew up from London. Constitutional implications were discussed. The Queen was backed into a corner, either accept the marriage or risk Charles abdicating like his great-uncle Edward VIII, who gave up the throne for divorced American Wallis Simpson in 1936. At Christmas, Charles told his mother, "We're getting married whether you like it or not." The announcement came in February 2005. And just like that, the woman who destroyed a fairy tale was about to get her own happy ending. Or was she? Here's what makes Camilla's rise even more calculated. She never expected to become anything more than a royal mistress. Her great-grandmother was Alice Keppel, King Edward VII's lover for 12 years until his death in 1910. Alice was elegant, discreet, beautiful, a footnote in history books. Camilla thought she'd play the same role, a nice side piece for the future king, nothing more. She even told teenage Prince Charles to marry that mouse, Diana calling her dim, uneducated, naive enough to be molded. Camilla literally sized up Diana as competition and decided the young kindergarten teacher posed no threat. She was disqualified on 3 counts. Her looks weren't royal enough, her aristocratic lineage was questionable, and she wasn't a virgin. So Camilla married Andrew Parker Bowles in July 1973 while Charles was away on naval duty and settled into her role as the prince's permanent mistress. But something changed. Maybe it was Diana's explosive revenge through Andrew Morton's book. Maybe it was the leaked phone tapes exposing their sexual conversations to the entire world. Maybe it was Diana's death in 1997 that freed Charles from his marriage vows. Whatever the reason, Camilla started thinking bigger. Why remain a mistress when you could be a wife? Why hide in the shadows when you could walk in palace gardens? Why settle for secret phone calls when you could have official royal tours? The promotion from mistress to wife is notoriously tricky. In royal history, there's an unwritten rule that a mistress should never look beyond her position. But Camilla looked, and she wanted more. The turning point came at a wedding in November 2004. Charles and Camilla attended a ceremony at Chester Cathedral. Royal protocol dictated that Camilla couldn't sit with Charles because the Queen was present. She'd have to sit behind him or across the church like a commoner. It was humiliation too far. Charles was tired of the embarrassment, tired of Camilla being excluded from Christmas at Sandringham, from Easter celebrations, from family gatherings. He'd put up with it for years, but now he was done. And here's the thing people don't understand. Royal protocol isn't set in stone. It's whatever the monarch decides. So the Queen's insistence on keeping Camilla separate wasn't tradition, it was punishment. It was the Queen showing her disapproval and distrust. And Charles was about to steamroll right over his mother's wishes, because he believed his personal happiness mattered more than the monarchy's reputation. Big mistake. Let's talk about what Camilla was actually inheriting, or rather, stealing from Diana's ghost. When Diana was alive, she transformed what it meant to be a royal wife. She didn't just show up at boring state dinners and smile vacantly. She revolutionized royal engagement. She held dying AIDS patients in her arms when the world still feared touching them. She walked through active minefields in Angola to raise awareness about landmines. She visited leper colonies, hugged sick children, brought genuine compassion to every charity she touched. Presidents fell in love with her. Egypt's president, France's president, America's president. She made them feel good, gave them hope. She was an innocent flirt who used charm as a diplomatic weapon. She got out of the palace every single day and did her job, whether in the East End of London or the East End of Lahore. She committed emotionally and mentally. That's what made her extraordinary. Now, compare that to Camilla. This is a woman known for hunting, not caring, for drinking gin and tonics at polo matches, not hugging orphans. Her only charity work is a bit of help for the Osteoporosis Society. That's it. She's done virtually nothing to earn public trust or affection. She's been hidden behind palace walls for longer than anyone can remember, never pressing flesh, never talking to regular people, never allowing herself to be measured by their standards. The whole point of having a royal family is that they earn their keep through good deeds and charitable work. But Camilla helps nobody except herself. And now the British public is expected to think of her first as Princess of Wales, Diana's title, then eventually as Queen. It's insulting. It's like replacing Meryl Streep with someone who's never acted before and expecting audiences not to notice. The public wasn't stupid. They remembered Diana's funeral in 1997. 1 million people lined the streets of London. 2.5 billion watched worldwide. They saw two young boys, William, just 15, and Harry, 12, walking behind their mother's coffin. They knew who was responsible. Camilla had been the third person in that marriage from day one. Charles had admitted his adultery on national television in 1994. The leaked Camillagate tapes proved he'd never stopped loving her, never prioritized Diana, never gave his wife a fair chance. And now, just 8 years after Diana's death, Charles was trying to rehabilitate Camilla's image through a choreographed public relations campaign. Photo opportunities at Charles's charity events, designer gowns from top fashion houses, heirloom jewels borrowed from royal collections. It was putting the cart before the horse, trying to create acceptance without earning it. But would it work? The constitutional crisis around Charles's wedding exposed just how much the royals make up rules as they go along. Originally, they announced the ceremony would take place at Windsor Castle's St. George's Chapel, the same ornate, cathedral-like venue where Prince Edward married Sophie Rhys-Jones in 1999. Perfect setting for a royal wedding. Right? Wrong. After the announcement, a legal technicality emerged. If they opened Windsor Castle for Charles's wedding, they'd have to allow ordinary citizens to get married there too for the next 3 years. The Queen was horrified at the thought of her weekend retreat being interrupted by common people getting married. Can you imagine? So they scrambled to find a new venue. Enter the Guildhall in Windsor, a municipal register office with a room called the Ascot Room. This is where Charles, heir to the British throne and future Supreme Governor of the Church of England, would have a civil ceremony. No cameras, no grand procession, just Camilla's family and Charles's sons William and Harry as witnesses. And here's the kicker. The queen wouldn't even attend. She'd skip the civil ceremony entirely, showing up only for the church blessing afterward at Windsor Castle. Her absence spoke volumes. This wasn't a celebration, it was damage control. The monarch was essentially saying, I don't approve of this marriage. I'm only tolerating it because I have no choice. But wait, it gets even more legally dubious. The whole concept of royals having civil weddings was constitutionally questionable. Laws dating back to 1836, when Queen Victoria was still heir to the throne, appeared to prevent royal family members from civil marriages. The 1836 Marriage Act and the 1949 Marriage Act both seemed very clear on this point. But Charles's advisors, including Britain's Lord Chancellor, claimed that human rights legislation had overturned those previous laws. They insisted it was perfectly legal, except it wasn't tested in court, which means future historians might look back and declare Charles's marriage illegal, his wife not truly his spouse, and any inheritance rights dubious at best. The monarchy was literally gambling with constitutional legitimacy because Charles couldn't control his personal life, and this legally contentious wedding would go into the history books as one of the most embarrassing episodes in royal history. But Charles didn't care. He wanted Camilla. Consequences be damned. Now, let's talk about the staff who know where all the bodies are buried literally and figuratively, because behind those palace walls, servants see everything. They know when marriages are failing. They hear the fights. They clean up the messes. And some of them have made very good money selling royal secrets. Take Paul Burrell, Diana's butler. After her death, he worked for the Diana Memorial Fund alongside her secretary, Jacqueline Allen. They were honored guests at American fundraising events. A replica of the blue diamond necklace from the film Titanic raised over £1 million for charity. Everything seemed noble and proper. Then, police discovered that Burrell had stashed hundreds of Diana's belongings in his home, jewelry, letters, personal items. He was charged with theft and tried at the Old Bailey. The trial was a complete fiasco. It collapsed when the Queen suddenly remembered a conversation where Burrell told her he was safeguarding Diana's papers. Many suspected this was a convenient memory designed to protect palace secrets from being exposed in court. Burrell should never have been prosecuted in the first place if Charles had simply met with him before the trial began. As senior staff advised, the whole mess could have been resolved. Burrell wasn't planning to sell anything. The material was buried in his attic. But once the prosecution collapsed, Burrell felt betrayed by the royals who'd thrown him under the bus. So he did what they feared most. He wrote a book revealing secrets about Diana, Charles, and Camilla. It was serialized with explosive headlines in tabloid papers. The man who swore for 4 years he'd never leak anything did exactly that for money and revenge. Here's what Burrell's betrayal revealed. The palace staff are underpaid, overworked, and constantly terrified of being fired. Royal employees call it the Royal Order of the Boot. You can be in one day and out the next. Security has tightened after a Daily Mirror reporter went undercover as a footman and published details about the Queen eating breakfast cereal from Tupperware containers. Now, staff must sign secrecy acts and confidentiality agreements. But the pay remains pittance. That's why so many sell trinkets and gifts passed down from their royal bosses, listing them on eBay or selling through American dealers who adore the royal family. It supplements their appalling salaries, and it means every servant, every bodyguard, every private secretary is a potential security risk. They all have stories to sell. They all have secrets to leak. And when Camilla becomes Duchess of Cornwall with access to the same staff networks, what's to stop more betrayals? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. One person who truly understood palace danger was Ken Worf, Diana's bodyguard. He was her eyes and ears, a trained marksman whose casual demeanor hid his role as a potential bullet catcher. Whatever the occasion, nobody escaped his scrutiny. He made Diana's life bearable by running interference with photographers, keeping stalkers at bay, and providing the emotional support she desperately needed. In Egypt, when paparazzi on a high-rise building photographed Diana swimming in the ambassador's pool, Ken blocked their shots and kept her calm. At Balmoral Castle, during those awkward August visits with the royal family, Ken walked for miles with Diana along the River Dee, giving her freedom and space to breathe. He was more than a bodyguard. He was a friend, a confidant, someone she trusted completely. After Diana separated from Charles in 1992, she made a catastrophic decision. She gave up her police protection. She thought she could handle security on her own with just private bodyguards. She was wrong. Ken believes that dispensing with Scotland Yard protection led directly to her death in Paris on August 31st, 1997. Had professional royal protection been in charge that night, regardless of conspiracy theories or planned attacks, Diana would still be alive. Her decision to dismiss trained officers was petulant and prompted by a desire for sympathy. But she didn't understand that her Scotland Yard team made her life bearable and safe. Without them, she was vulnerable. And in that Paris tunnel, fleeing paparazzi at high speed with a drunk driver and no professional security, she paid the ultimate price. Now Camilla will inherit all the security Diana rejected. As Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Cornwall, she'll have bodyguards for every holiday. Reconnaissance teams will scope out foreign tours in advance. Her cars will be checked and kept under surveillance for kidnapping or assassination attempts. Paparazzi will be kept at a safe distance with backup vehicles, preventing high-speed chases. She'll never be put in the position she faced during a 2003 visit to Chile when photographers chased her into a tunnel, an eerie reminder of Diana's final moments. The royal protection machinery will shield Camilla from every danger Diana faced alone. It's almost poetic justice in reverse. The woman who destroyed Diana's marriage gets the safety Diana was denied. But here's the question nobody's asking. Does Camilla deserve this protection? Does she deserve taxpayer-funded security to guard a former mistress who became a duchess through adultery and manipulation? The British public certainly doesn't think so. Let's address the elephant in every room: Diana's jewelry. When she died, her magnificent collection was returned to the palace. Heritage items like the Queen Mary tiara, borrowed from royal collections, went back into the monarchy's jewelry pool. But Diana's personal pieces, her Cartier watch, her engagement ring, her favorite necklaces, were kept for William and Harry to give to their future wives. Harry took the Cartier watch. William took the engagement ring and later gave it to Kate Middleton when he proposed. That ring, with its massive sapphire surrounded by diamonds, now sits on Kate's finger as Princess of Wales, Diana's title finally worn by someone the public actually respects. But what about the royal jewels Camilla might wear? The Queen has a staggering collection: 7 tiaras, including her favorite pearl and diamond tiara and the Russian fringed tiara, 15 important necklaces, scores of earrings, bracelets, rings, plus pieces inherited from earlier queens going back centuries. On their engagement, Charles gave Camilla a diamond ring worth £500,000 that belonged to the late Queen Mother. Will we now see Camilla dripping in jewels Diana once wore? Will she parade around in the same tiaras, the same necklaces, as if she's earned the right to wear them? It's entirely possible. And there's one piece that carries particular symbolism: the Koh-i-Noor diamond, set in the Queen Mother's coronation crown. This massive diamond is said to bring bad luck to male owners, which is why it's only worn by queen consorts. The Queen Mother wore it in 1937. It was placed on her coffin at her funeral in 2002. Now it sits in the Tower of London with the crown jewels. Could Camilla wear it at Charles's coronation? The thought makes Diana's supporters physically ill. Here's why this matters. Symbols have power. When Camilla appears in public wearing jewels connected to the monarchy's history, she's claiming legitimacy she hasn't earned. She's trying to drape herself in the gravitas of queens who actually served their country with dignity, unlike her, who spent decades as a married man's mistress. And let's not forget, Camilla's great-grandmother, Alice Keppel, was showered with wealth by King Edward VII. When he died, he made sure Alice had enough money, not just for her lifetime, but for her children and great-grandchildren. Camilla literally lived off money passed down from her great-grandmother's affair with a king, and now Charles is repeating history, ensuring Camilla will be vastly wealthy when he dies. The pattern continues. Generation after generation, mistresses getting paid, wives getting discarded, and the monarchy pretending it's all perfectly respectable. So here we are, February 2005. Charles and Camilla face the cameras for their engagement photos. Camilla, asked about marrying the heir to the throne, echoes Diana's words from 1981. She's amazed to be taking on such responsibility. But there's one crucial difference. Diana was a beautiful 19-year-old virgin from a broken home who genuinely loved Charles and believed the fairy tale. Camilla is a 57-year-old divorced woman with a history of adultery who's been sleeping with Charles for over 30 years. This isn't a fairy tale. This is the aftermath of scandal and tragedy. A marriage built on betrayal, sold to the public through expensive public relations campaigns. The question everyone's asking, can the monarchy survive a King Charles and Queen Camilla? Public opinion polls show support for the monarchy declining, especially among people under 40 who see royals as just celebrities like Michael Jackson or Robbie Williams starring in an ongoing soap opera. People over 40 take the monarchy more seriously, and they're the ones most upset by Charles marrying the woman whose adultery destroyed his marriage to beloved Princess Diana. In Australia and other Commonwealth nations where the Queen is head of state, support for becoming republics grows every time Camilla appears beside Charles. The thought of her becoming Queen Consort is genuinely driving people away from monarchist positions. Charles believes he can ascend the throne with Camilla by his side. Whether she's called princess, consort, or queen doesn't matter to him. The rule is that a king's wife automatically becomes queen, so in his mind, it's doable. But he's gambling his entire legacy on this marriage. If public opinion doesn't shift in Camilla's favor, if she remains unpopular and resented, then Charles's reign will be poisoned from the start. The same prince who married Diana in that spectacular ceremony watched by 750 million people is now marrying a controversial mistress in a register office with no cameras and his own mother refusing to attend. From fairy tale to farce in 24 years. That's the story of Charles and Camilla, a romance based on selfishness, sustained through lies, and legitimized through manipulation. And somehow, they expect the world to celebrate it. So here's my final question for you. Do you think Camilla deserves to be queen? Should a woman who broke up a marriage, contributed to Diana's misery, and spent decades as a royal mistress get to wear a crown? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. I want to hear both sides of this debate. And if this video opened your eyes to the calculated strategy behind Camilla's transformation from mistress to duchess, smash that subscribe button and share this with someone who still thinks the royals are all class and dignity. Because this story proves that even in palaces, sometimes the villains win. The question is whether we'll let them get away with it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, where we dive even deeper into royal scandals they don't want you to know about.